Joining us, Eva Ados, COO and Chief Investment Strategist of ERShares, also an early investor in SpaceX through her fund. Eva, good to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
How did we oversell that? How big of a deal is this IPO?
It is one of the biggest deals going. It's going to be the biggest IPO, as you said. The next closest, and certainly in the U.S. history, the next closest one will be Saudi Aramco. We think if there's one company, private or public, in the entire investable universe that we would own, that would be SpaceX. And that's why, as you said, it's our biggest weight in our XOVR ETF. We have very strong conviction in this company.
Maybe given it's SpaceX, it's bigger than this, just this investable universe. Maybe it's all the universes. Okay, it's very, listen,
Right.
Thank you for laughing at that. It's very cool. Rockets are awesome. But what do they do that deserves that kind of valuation?
Yes, it is the moat. It's one of the very few companies globally that actually has a moat. And it has a moat, a very well-diversified moat across many industries, space, AI, telecom. Think about it. When Amazon is launching Amazon Leo, and in order for them to meet the FCC deadline, they need to use SpaceX. When you make your biggest competitor your biggest customer, that is a real moat. We were the first ETF to democratize private equity. We included private companies in it. And we decided to invest in SpaceX and not OpenAI or Anthropic, because in these companies, AI models can be easily replicated. There's not a real moat. The moat is infrastructure. So now with XAI and SpaceX together, you actually have a moat.
Yeah, we're looking at Anthropic and OpenAI, and who knows where this will all go, but I think your point is well taken. And that rocket scientists, actual rocket scientists, are harder to find than software programmers.
Yes.
And is that sort of the idea around this, which is that what SpaceX does, and maybe Blue Origin, Jeff Bezos and Leo, his company, Amazon, that is just takes decades to get good at.
Correct.
If you ever get good at it.
Correct. And we think Elon has put together the best team. That's why they have reusable rockets. They are the most cost-efficient and reliable rocket operator. We believe Elon is the greatest entrepreneur of all time. We think it's a combination of Carnegie and Rockefeller together.
Well, he's going to be a trillionaire, I think, after this. He might be. I'm not joking. He's going to get close, because this is going to be, if those numbers are accurate, this will be bigger than Tesla. Do you worry there's too much Elon Musk risk in this, that he's too relevant to all these companies? No. Sort of that key person risk?
I think it's actually to the benefit, because now he owns the whole supply chain. Just like Rockefeller, he owns everything linked together. So his competitors are going to be using him in order to put rockets up in the space. So once you get to that point, then you kind of have a monopoly. That's why we think the valuation is justified, because this is not just a tech play, it's an infrastructure play. It has monopolistic characteristics.
You guys do a lot more than just SpaceX. So how much, if at all, does this IPO, SpaceX IPO, does it matter for the overall market?
Yes.
Because if it goes well, I do wonder if there's like an element of investors who've been kind of flittering around the edges that might think, oh, this is cool. Maybe it's time to get in. I don't know.
We see, and that's the reason we democratized access and provide access to retail investors that are being locked out of these opportunities. This is the biggest, we believe, opportunity of the last decade.
Wow.
And this is a unique IPO for three main reasons. First of all, it's the biggest IPO. Secondly, there's going to be 50 to 75, as you said, billion of fundraising on day one. This is a historic number. And third, if there is an S&P 500 fast track inclusion, that's going to have a buying pressure that's going to mitigate the selling pressure that we see after the 6-month lockup. So. So and by the way, that's also going to have buying pressure before the lockup.
Not selling pressure, buying pressure.
Buying pressure, because you have 7 to 10 trillion in mutual funds and ETFs of passive money following the S&P 500 index, and you also have 8 to 11 trillion of corporate mandates following the index. So if that money comes in, and if SpaceX has now a 2% weight in the S&P 500 index, because it's going to be similar valuation of Tesla now, then that 15 to 20 trillion equates to 300 to 400 billion of buying pressure once the company goes public.